So those in favour say aye, and against carried. Next up, Dean, AT update, welcome.
Kia ora, councillors, and thank you. We've got a team here today. We're going to share the workload and what I think you will find a very informative update. So once again, thank you very much for having us. You've had a good round already on CRL. We touch on CRL in an update, but we will dash through that because I know that there's been a good round of questions on it already. Just a couple of what I thought might be useful opening comments. The pointer, thank you. That wasn't an opening comment, that was an opening request. I was just going to say, first of all, welcome to the new councillors too. It's good to see an ever-changing set of faces and many of them familiar, so kia ora, and I look forward to your questions and the opportunity to further engage. As we go through the update today, we're going to have screens. Okay, I'm not sure where it's gone. Well, that's coming up. To be fair, I've lost it. Who knows? We've got Jane will be presenting on the update on the capital program status. We've got Andrew here to talk a bit about the city centre, or not the city, the car parking comprehensive management plans and where we're at on that. And Mel will be giving us an update on network productivity and some of the progress being made there. And Stacey will give us an update on the annual fare review. Oh, there it is. Awesome, it's arrived. Look, there's some highlights here throughout October, November. I've got a few others I'm going to throw in verbally, but look, when we come into the summer season, that is when we get out on the roads and do the maintenance. That is maintenance season. So we've got our summer rehab program. That is telling Aucklanders we're out here, we're getting the roads straightened out, sorted out, resurfaced, rebuilt where needed. And you will see more cones on the roads because this is the time of year that we can do it, okay? Cones are a good thing in that instance, just the right amount, of course, and for the right duration, but you need cones, so I've made my point. The other thing is we've got our pothole promise, which is an awesome thing, and we are achieving our objectives here. 97% of all potholes on arterials are repaired within the 24-hour period, so on the balance of the network, 1 week, but our contractors are lined up, so that is great progress. You'll see a number of other things in there, some great, the Reeves Road or Rahihi flyover. A couple of other things that were just on that hinge of November and December. IKEA opening went really well. We're really pleased. All the communication from everybody, including you, saw a reduction in people trying to drive to IKEA on the day. We saw a really big spike in public transport, both on rail in particular, 74% up over that period compared to the previous month. Same with bus transport. So look, people adjusted their behaviours because they wanted to get to the IKEA opening, and IKEA achieved all of its targets in terms of numbers visiting. So we can do it, can't we, when we choose to. Same with Christmas in the park. So things are working well in this sense, so I'm really pleased. Hey, Albert Street go live, we'll touch on that shortly. Takanini, I know Councillor Newman are always interested, but the rail level crossing program is progressing well. So look, there's some really good things out there right across the board, and you've a lot to be pleased with. Can I acknowledge the stabbings again that occurred last night? I acknowledge them. This is tough, isn't it? This is society and parts of society behaving badly. We take great care to ensure that our staff and our operating staff are well equipped to handle these situations, but there are some you can never quite handle. such as what happened last night. So, our thoughts are all with those that are affected, family, the individual, of course, individuals, and our staff as they look to actually deal with what's a high impact and emotional event. So I wanted to acknowledge that. On that note, we will keep going. Yeah, look, I thought this month it might be nice just to say, we recognition by your peers is very important for staff and for any organisation. There's eight awards been that staff or projects within Auckland Transport have secured over the last 2 months. We have had a focus over the last couple of years of putting up staff and projects where we think they're worthy of recognition by our peers, and we've noticed a great uptick. Some great awards in this, and I encourage you to take a read. Coming to capital program, I'm going to hand over to Jane, who's going to take you through these key achievements, and then we'll keep going without interruption. We'll take questions at the end. Is that correct, Chair? Thank you.
Not quite, yes it is. Good afternoon now everybody again. So yes, some of our key achievements in Twin Wharf Road, Herald Island, we've completed the staircase there. You'll see, and there's a bit of an update on the ferry program further on in this capital program update, but the hybrid ferries have been lowered into the Whanganui River and are now, as I understand it, travelling up the coast to be ready for testing in Auckland to be put into operation. Then as Innes Links, so the Merton Road Stage 1 work has been completed, and of course that forms part of the broader connection between Glen Innes and Tamaki and into those communities to enable cycling to occur into the city and beyond. And just in terms of new footpaths, from a walking perspective, there are a number of those that have been delivered in the south, and these are at the request of the community, and they're funded by the Climate Emergency Response Fund. A bit of a look ahead. We have gone out for early contractor involvement in the Inga Bridge, and you will probably have seen if you've driven around or walked around the area, the Glen Innes to Tamaki Drive project is progressing really well, and so both ends of that boardwalk should be completed in early 2026, which is the last link in that larger cycleway to connect from the city through into Tamaki. And Rosedale Bus Station, the request for tender has been issued, and for Whangaparoa, the new footpaths are in progress. And also just an update on the Takanini road bridges. We are likely to announce the ECI contractor for that later this week. We've just been in negotiations and that's in final sign-off. Just an update on Eastern Busway and the Botany Link Road. You'll recall that in the Link Road, which is the section of road from near where the Howick Eastern Bus station is through to the Botany Township, was not going to be completed as an offline busway. We were putting T3 lanes in there, and that was related to the cost envelope that we were working in at the beginning of that project. Due to the project proceeding ahead of time, and also there was some capacity within the allocated funding for the project. We were able to look to complete that link road within the project timeframes. So that has been through the approval processes through council, and was approved to progress through our AT board. And since these slides were put together, I'm happy to say that the NZTA board approved their 51%. We've had informal notice of that on Friday. As we've put up there, the total amount to construct that section, which is an off-road busway and also the shared path will be less than 110 million, and we are well into the negotiations between the what we call non-owner participants and ourselves, and would look to have a final price for that at the beginning of next week. And as I say, we have been working closely with Council and also with NZTA to move this forward, and it's exciting to be able to deliver that part of the project within the timeframes of the existing construction works. Just in terms of the ferry fleet renewal, so the first electric ferry for Half Moon Bay is undergoing its final testing. So that's likely to be, well, it will be handed over to AT in 2026. A bit like CRL and any of these other projects, there's a significant amount of testing that needs to take place, and particularly because the electric ferries are new technology, so ensuring they're ready for customers. Half Moon Bay has been completed, the charging equipment on shore, and the downtown ferry has commenced. That went through a consenting process. We now have the consent for that, and so that will be commencing within the next few months. Just continuing with the ferry fleet, I've talked about the hybrid ferry, which will be for the Devonport route, and that's arriving later this month. And I've talked about the testing that is being undertaken across those, the hybrid and the electric ferries. And for the diesel ferries, you'll recall that it was brought to governing body earlier, and this committee earlier in the year. And so the tender work for that has been underway, and the tender is likely to be issued in early 2026. And now I believe I'm handing over to Andrew.
Kia ora, councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you an update on where we've got to in terms of the optimisation programme. For new councillors, you may be aware that Auckland Transport and NZTA work jointly on the optimisation programme, and we have some key statement of intent targets that are reported through to council on a regular basis. And this is a summary of that work today, and I've got a couple of slides to focus in on special vehicle lanes as particular interest. Since coming to you last time, the programme is well on track to deliver against those SOI targets and well underway with planning for next year's programme as well. In particular, we've completed several projects down on BYLs on Redoubt Road and a retiming of the dynamic lane that goes outbound from the city, from the motorway intersection there. We are also completed the Hugo Johnson Church Street intersection, making improvements through there for a range of users, and currently in progress with a number of corridors, particularly in Takanini, to support the CRL opening and the level crossing programme, and there's some work underway on Onua Road to tie in with the maintenance that's currently being undertaken. In terms of signalisation changes, so that's work we do with Auckland Transport Operations Centre. We have an annual target of around 250 full-scale signal optimisation. That's about a third of all the signals in Auckland. So it's an ongoing annual programme to target those. We're around 30% of the way through that and well on track to deliver that this year. Following that, there's also going to be some focus on the city centre. Now we have the opening of Albert Street and the new bus lanes along Albert Street and the shift for bus services, which is working well, has given us opportunities to actually look at making sure that those signals are operating as planned. And then we can focus back onto the operations of Queen Street and Victoria Street. I'm going to jump to the dynamic lanes. Back in September, you may recall that we presented to the council that the Mayoral Street dynamic bus lane went live on the 8th of September in the morning peak and appears to be working very well, and some timing changes. We also got two projects underway for Dominion Road around changing times we can turn right to enable bus services to run more effectively, and I'm progressing with the trial of a dynamic crossing in Botany. Just to move on to special vehicle lanes. There we go. This is a graph to show you roughly how we're progressing with new SVLs on the network. Our target this year is 10 kilometres of new SVLs on the network. So far, as I mentioned before, Mayoral Street, dynamic bus lane, corridor improvements have been undertaken. Our colleagues at NZTA have delivered on the State Highway 1 Honora Road southbound bus improvements. And with CBD, with the new bus services on Albert Street and Vincent Street, that's added to our current delivery of around 3.5 kilometres. We will go also to do with that, just on the other slide, we had a target to look at operating hour changes. So we monitor the network across all of our arterials, but also across all of our special vehicle lanes to make sure they're operating effectively, whether they be bus lanes or transit lanes T2, T3. We have done a review of around just over 16 kilometres of special vehicle lanes, so we're well over target onto that review. Some of those will be taking place over the coming months, and we're working with the relevant local boards, and we'll bring back a report on that later on in next year. The main delivery, as you can see from this, is going to be in Q4, and that's focused on Mount Wellington, Sylvia Park and Mount Smart SVLs. And this is our current picture of delivery to give you a lot more detail around what projects are being looked at. In particular, you can see there that focus also includes Eastern Busway and some further work by NZTA on State Highway 16. We did note in our SOI that there'll be further works around Silverdale. NZTA are continuing with that project. It's just going to be delivered into next financial year because of pavement works. So we're continuing to look at all opportunities to introduce special vehicle lanes where they're needed and can be justified. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. I'll just take you through our parking and curbside program. It's quite a significant program, as you can imagine, with 7,000 kilometres of roads in Auckland. It goes from very small things, a customer rings up and needs some broken yellow lines, through to whole of suburb parking reviews that we do. So there's dozens of projects on at any one time. Everything that we do is based on the room to move strategy, and this body endorsed the principles behind that strategy in 2022. And that sets that foundation for intervention. And what we've got is three sort of reasons or rationales to intervene in parking. One is to prioritise the movement of people or goods on key roads to keep the city moving. The second is to ensure easy access to destinations, be they centres, hospitals, tertiary education, etc. And the third is to get users to contribute to the costs of maintaining parking to reduce that burden on ratepayers, all reflected through the work program that we have in the statement of intent. What I'm going to do is just take you through a couple of key projects which are happening just at the moment in this month. The first one is the downtown car park handover. So Auckland Council has sold the downtown car park to Precinct Properties. Settlement is next Thursday, so AT will cease operating the car park next Wednesday. We understand that Precinct Properties will keep it operating themselves for a while until demolition begins, but AT will cease operating end of Wednesday next week, and it's going to be redeveloped into a whole new precinct, and there are a range of other associated changes to the road network and the public realm together with that. But that's something that at the moment the parking team is just working on in terms of that asset handover. The second thing that's on at the moment is the Great North Road parking changes. So this is not a parking project, this is the parking component of another project. So you'd be aware of the Great North Road project, which is nearing completion. The road resurfacing is planned to finish next week, and all the finishing touches are next month. As part of that, there was community concern about the parking situation in and around that corridor. So the team has worked to identify changes to the parking in and around that area. And where they've landed as a proposal to the community is 1 hour parking on Great North Road itself, and then some paid parking in the side streets in the eastern end, and 2 hour parking on the side street.
Try this one.
Just stopped, with some 15-minute parking spread throughout mobility parking. So that has just closed for public consultation at the end of last week. So we'll just go through those results and see what the response was to that. The next one is, and that is, sorry, that's a map illustrating what I just said. It doesn't feature any change to the residential parking precinct which exists on either side of the road as is. And then finally, some of those whole of suburb parking plans that we've been doing at the moment. So Albany, Manukau, Newmarket and Ponsonby, they have just had consultation close on them. They were all developed in conjunction with the applicable local board and the business associations. And we've had some really great ideas come out of those conversations and some great engagement from the community. With those, they were all designed to take a holistic view at the whole suburb, deal with the competing and often conflicting needs between employees, residents, visitors, and try to create a fairer parking system for everyone living, working and visiting those areas. And those four are then going to move into a final set of proposals early next year. We will take those to seek approval from the relative local boards, and we're starting work now on the next 7 of those parking plans, and they'll be progressing over the coming years across large centres of the region.
Thank you, and I'm here to talk about our annual fare review. As you all know, once a year we take a look at our fares and understand in terms of what we need to adjust for the following year in terms of that. This year it has landed at 5.1% as a weighted average fare increase, and that's going to be effective of the 1st of February 2026 if it is approved by our board later this month. That means from an adult hop fare basis, that equates to about 10 to 25 cents per trip on a bus or a train. If you're taking a ferry, that equates to about 40 to 60 cents per trip. And of course, this is expected to generate additional revenue and help us achieve our targets that have been set for us in terms of fare box recovery, and as well as work towards our goals that we have with our other funding partners in terms of our private revenue ratios. Just a bit of a recap in terms of obviously acknowledging that 5.1% is above CPI, which is obviously a lot where we talk about measurements that people relate to. We still have this deficit in terms of our fare revenue, given that for the 2 years where we had rapid inflation, there was a zero fare increase. This marginally improves that, but as you can see, we have had significant cost rises over the last few years, mainly to do with inflation in terms of that cost base, but also in terms of service improvement that we've invested in order to be able to make public transport a more attractive option for people. In terms of concessions, and so you will know that recently what we did was we improved the tertiary concession from 20% to 40%. It now measures exactly as we have for our child concessions, that 40% discount. Now what we noticed when sort of going through the data was that whilst tertiary education was back on campus about 88% in comparison to pre-COVID levels, that actual patronage on board public transport was significantly diminished in comparative to, let's say, adult users. And so there was a noted gap. Now the team have been working very closely with the universities, and you would have seen that in some of the media commentary, to try and improve access for tertiary students, to make sure that public transport was a viable option. Obviously they've got parking issues, so they want to support public transport as much as possible, which is why we've done that in collaboration with the universities, and we'll be doing more in terms of communication on that in the new year. We've also maintained that $50 fare cap, which is great. So that consistency going forth for customers remains. It has not changed for 2 years. And on that, I thought you'd be interested to know that we have, I was trying to remember what those unique users were. So there was about 8,330 on average a week reached that cap. That sort of equates to about, let's say, 19 to 20,000 free trips from those that reach that cap on average every week, yeah, in terms of that. Now, one of the things that we used, those that were here earlier this year that we spoke about was with the fare strategy review was improving long distance fares. And so what we did at the start of this year, we consolidated those outer zones to make it more affordable for people that were travelling longer distances. So in doing that, we benchmark ourselves through an independent report in terms of 44 global cities. We went from ranking 33 out of 44 for long distance fares up to 11 for long distance fares. So we've hugely improved that equity in terms of journey payments, which is a really good outcome, without compromising too much in where we fall with short journeys. So we've gone from 7 to 10 there in terms of ranking out of those 44 cities. So that fare strategy is working. We had a number of other things we wanted to do with our fare strategy in year 2. We've had to pause those because obviously with NTS and national alignment, we want to make sure that what we're doing is not compromising that journey and also making it clear and transparent to everybody about what that looks like going forth. Thanks.
And if I can just fill in for Scott Campbell, who would normally do the Māori outcomes, I'll give you a quick update on progress there. So you'll see our Maro Tiritiriana or our Māori outcomes report has highlighted a number of achievements over the last 12 months, including mana whenua engagements, both forums and projects. You'll see we've now achieved 100% bilingual transfer and arrival messaging across all public transport. We've completed a review of all wayfinding signage with the objective of bringing that up to the standard that we expect. Marae car parks and safety upgrades and procurement of from Māori-owned businesses. Currently, it's sitting just under our 3% target. That's directly correlated to where we're at with our capital spend. We're slightly behind target on that as well. As that it reaches target, then the rest will follow. So it's a quick update, and we have now finished. We will happily take questions. And if you want to take a ride, then feel free. It's Christmas.
Thank you, team. So what we'll do is, as I said, we're going to take a break at past, and we are right there, and we've got half the room who want to ask questions or thereabouts. So we will take our half-hour break for lunch. We'll be back here at 1, and the 9 or 10 people who are lined up for questions can get their questions all lined up for after that time. So that's what we'll do. We'll break for lunch. Thanks, team, and then we'll come back and get stuck into it at 1 o'clock.